the way that we choose to participate here is something that is of a great importance and will have, it's really the only way that we can do it. It's the thing that's going to have the impact. And I think, like you're saying...
Right, but that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it isn't that it's going to have an impact. I was thinking about this the other day as I went to great inconvenience to put an apple core in the compost rather than the garbage. And I mean, you can recycle all of your beer bottles and do all that kind of stuff, but what is that? Or you say you use fewer plastic bags, because you've read about that. Did you read about that enormous, hundreds of miles long slick of plastic in the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah, I have heard about some things, and the garbage in the ocean in general.
Right. So, but there's there's this feeling, and this is related to the despair, where it's like, I can never use another plastic bag in my whole life, but is it really going to make a difference? And the answer is, rationally speaking, is no. It's not going to make a difference. Your contribution is not going to make a difference. And that's why there's got to be another reason to do it. That has nothing to do with your calculations of how big a difference it'll make and how much it will reduce your ecological footprint. And so the answer that works for me is the reason that I recycle that apple core is because it feels really good, because I'm in love with that apple core and it wants to go back into the soil, and it's a personal relationship. I do it feels good because there's really no other way except for self-forcing.
Yeah, I get you. The thing that I recognize with this, and I'm sure it's your experience too, is that when we do what feels most appropriate to us, just in the moment-to-moment, day-to-day choices that we make, that ends up kind of having a wider effect, a synergistic effect.
Yeah.
Because now we're...
Yeah, in ways you can't even predict.
Yes. Yeah. And then in that way, those small things do kind of reach out. And I think you're right, that there are more and more people that are trying and finding that there are ways that that the art in life is life itself. Everything that we do has the potential of being more beautiful. And choosing, because it makes us more at peace, more happy, to do the things that we find to be a little bit more beautiful is a wonderful way to proceed along these lines and starting to appreciate the true life and beauty that surrounds us and fills us.
Yes, that's the bliss that's available all the time, everywhere. In the past, I used to enforce my good behavior by saying, okay, well, I ride a bicycle and I recycle and I do this and that and the other thing, so that means I'm good. And I would use those behaviors as license to approve of myself. I didn't realize that I was doing the same thing as my right-wing Christian fundamentalist friends who had a different set of behaviors, a different set of voting patterns, and a different set of opinions, which they would use as license to approve of themselves. And then the next step, of course, is to use this approval and then the disapproval if you disobey your principles as a bludgeon, a carrot and stick to enforce good behavior. And feeling guilty because to the extent that you were bad according to those principles, and feeling self-righteous to the extent that you were good. And then, it's kind of a self-control with guilt and conditional approval. And really that's just buying into the same mentality that's destroying the planet, the mentality of control. And the alternative makes all of that control unnecessary. When you are, another way to say feeling at one with, when I talked about earlier when you meet someone in the eye or with a tree or something, that feeling that, we're not really separate beings, that is called love. And love is an expansion of your identity to include another being. Because when you love another being, then something that happens to that other being, it's as if it happened to you. In fact, it is happening to you. It's just the realization that it's happening to you. That's why, if something happens to my son, it hurts me too. And when we come into that consciousness, then it's just so effortless. We live in a different way without this regime of self-control and self-punishment, and we see strategies of activism very differently then too, because a lot of activists will try to use the bludgeons of guilt on other people too. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're using more than your share. And how could those people be so greedy and driving their SUVs and stuff? That kind of mentality provokes a very valid opposition. But when we see activism as a matter of communicating, here's how you could even be more blissful in your life. This is for you. I don't want you to have less in your life or to make do with less. But when activism comes from a ongoing, authentic, living understanding that I want to make people's life better for them right now, then people don't get defensive anymore.
That is absolutely lovely, and it kind of